afternoon. You're watching Nation Now. I'm Priyadarshini Midhi, and we start the bulletin with the top focus this afternoon. Well, the Enforcement Directorate has issued fresh summons to Congress leader Rahul Gandhi in connection with the National Herald case. Well, this is the second summons served by the ED asking Rahul Gandhi to appear before the probe agency on June 13 in the alleged money laundering case. Earlier, the ED had issued summons to both Congress interim President Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi on Wednesday. However, Sonia Gandhi has tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday, after which she is in isolation. Meanwhile, the Congress affirmed that the Congress interim president is determined to appear before the ED on June 8th. So, big national story we are tracking at this point in time, viewers. Well, the Enforcement Directorate has issued fresh summons to Congress leader Rahul Gandhi in connection with the National Herald case. This is the second summons served by the ED asking Rahul Gandhi to appear before the probe agency on June 13 in the alleged money laundering case. Earlier, the ED had issued summons to both Congress interim President Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi on Wednesday. However, Sonia Gandhi has tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday, after which she is in isolation. Meanwhile, the Congress affirmed that the Congress interim president is determined to appear before the ED on June 8. And on to another big national story. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated the UP Investors Summit 3.0 in Lucknow. During the event, Prime Minister Modi laid the foundation stone of 1,406 projects worth over rupees 80,000 crore. The projects were in diverse fields including agriculture, IT and electronics, MSME, manufacturing, renewable energy, pharma, tourism, defense and aerospace, handloom and textile. Well, among others who attended the event were Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, and leading industrialists of the country, including Gautam Adani, Kumar Mangalam Birla, Anand Ambani, among others. Now, in what has come as a good news and major upliftment for the investment scenario in the state, Asia's richest man, Gautam Adani, has announced that Adani Group alone would make an investment of rupees 70,000 crore in Uttar Pradesh.
हम बेहतर होने के लिए दूसरों के साथ प्रतिस्पर्धा करते हैं। अगर हमें बनना है सर्वश्रेष्ठ, तो खुद से स्पर्धा करनी होगी। प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ उत्तर प्रदेश को भारत और विश्व के सर्वोत्तम व्यापार और निवेश स्थानों में परिवर्तित करने के लिए निरंतर कार्य कर रहे हैं। इस प्रयास में प्रथम इन्वेस्टर समिट में प्रदेश की सरकार की नीतियों में विश्वास जताते निवेशकों से 4,68,000।
सबसे पहले तो मैं उत्तर प्रदेश के सांसद के नाते, काशी के सांसद के नाते निवेशकों का स्वागत करता हूं और निवेशकों का मैं इसलिए धन्यवाद करता हूं कि उन्होंने उत्तर प्रदेश की युवा शक्ति पे भरोसा किया है। उत्तर प्रदेश की युवा शक्ति में वो सामर्थ्य है कि आपके सपनों और संकल्पों को नई उड़ान, नई ऊंचाई देने का सामर्थ्य उत्तर प्रदेश के नौजवानों में है और आप जिस संकल्प को लेकर के आए हैं, उत्तर प्रदेश के नौजवानों का परिश्रम, उनका पुरुषार्थ, उनका सामर्थ्य, उनकी समझ, उनका समर्पण आपके सभी सपने संकल्पों को सिद्ध करके रहेगा, ये मैं आपको विश्वास दिलाता हूं। साथियों, यूपी में 80,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा के निवेश से संबंधित समझौते यहां हुए हैं। ये रिकॉर्ड निवेश यूपी में रोजगार के हजारों नए अवसर बनाएगा। ये भारत के साथ ही उत्तर प्रदेश की ग्रोथ स्टोरी पर बढ़ते विश्वास को दिखाता है। दुनिया आज जिस भरोसेमंद साथी को तलाश रही है, उस पर खरा उतरने का सामर्थ्य सिर्फ हमारे लोकतांत्रिक भारत के पास है। बीते साल दुनिया के 100 से अधिक देशों से $84 बिलियन का रिकॉर्ड एफडीआई आया है। मैं आपको आश्वस्त करता हूं कि यूपी के विकास के लिए, आत्मनिर्भर भारत के निर्माण के लिए जिस भी सेक्टर में जो भी रिफॉर्म आवश्यक होंगे, वो रिफॉर्म निरंतर किए जाते रहेंगे।
A new India that works to restore its past glory. A new India that stands by its allies and friends. A new India that takes center stage on the global platform. A new India that feels and cares for all its citizens. A new India where all Indians can hold their heads high. You are the architect designing the aspirations of 135 crore Indians, and with 16% of India population, it is Uttar Pradesh success that sets the tone for the nation's success.
The timing of this investment summit in Uttar Pradesh holds, I think, very special significance. Just a few days ago, as we know, the Modi government completed 8 very successful years.
And moving on now. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar began his 5-day visit to Slovakia and Czech Republic to give further momentum in ties with the two Central European countries. The visit comes at a time when Europe is grappling with the implications of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Besides meeting Slovakian Prime Minister Edward Heger, Jaishankar is also attending the GlobeSec 2022 forum to speak on the topic, taking friendship to the next level, allies in the Indo-Pacific region.
Freelance journalist from Vilnius, Lithuania. Dr. Jaishankar, with the Indian government essentially ignoring war crimes in Ukraine, not condemning Russia, not doing sanctions, you then expect, I'm totally sorry, I know what to do, with India counting on global support for in its struggle with China, its issues with China. How do you think you'll be trusted by others after that? Why do you think anyone will help Delhi after you didn't help others over Ukraine? Thank you.
You know, it's an interesting question which you might, I mean, not you, meaning you personally, but people might want to ask themselves, because if I were to take Europe collectively, which has been singularly silent on many things which were happening, for example, in Asia, you could ask, why would anybody in Asia trust Europe on anything at all? So here's the take. I don't think, I mean, first of all, I think you're mischaracterizing our position, where they have, for example, when Bucha happened, we condemned Bucha, and we actually asked for an investigation into Bucha. In terms of what is happening with the Ukraine conflict, our position is very clearly that we favor an immediate cessation of hostilities. It's not that we've ignored it, unless you call phone calls to Putin and Zelensky as ignoring something. So first, I would urge you to get the factual position accurately. Secondly, in terms of the connection you are making, look, we have a difficult relationship with China. We're perfectly capable of managing it. It's if I get global understanding and support, obviously it is of help to me. But this idea that I do a transaction, that I come in one conflict because it will help me in conflict too, that's not how the world works. A lot of our problems in China have nothing to do with Ukraine, have nothing to do with Russia. They predate it. And there are, if we are getting into who is silent on what issue at what point of time, I could point to a whole lot of issues on which, as I said, Europe has held its peace. So, it's a great polemical point you made. So I take it in that spirit.
All right, shifting focus now. Well, Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann today visited the residence of Punjab singer and Congress leader Sidhu Moosewala. During his visit to the Moose village, Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann offered condolences to the bereaved family and assured that those guilty behind the incident will not be forgiven at any cost. Earlier, dramatic scenes were witnessed as locals of Muse village staged protests blaming the state government for failing to secure the law and order situation leading to Musewala's killing. The locals also opposed the tight security arrangements put in place by the Punjab police in view of Chief Minister Mann's visit. Even local Aam Aadmi Party MLA Gurpreet Singh Banawali, who faced the wrath of the villagers, had to return back from the village after apologizing to the villagers for the problems they faced due to security arrangements. Well, later the police officials were forced to pacify angry villagers who raised slogans against the Chief Minister Mann-led state government, accusing it for the lack of security that led to the singer's killing. It may be mentioned here that Sidhu Moosewala was shot dead by unidentified assailants in Punjab's Mansa district on 29th of May, a day after the state government curtailed his security cover. Earlier on Thursday, the Punjab and Haryana High Court passed a ruling that the security cover of 424 protectees, which was scaled down temporarily, will be restored from 7th of June. And time for a very short break. Now, stay tuned. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Evening Prime, the primetime news at 7. Now, in a whole new look. Only on Northeast Live. Your station, your voice.
বা এইটো লওঁ নে এইটো 15ত মিছৰ সেল আছে নহয় তেন্তে এইটো আৰু এইটো লৈ ল
মিছৰ মহা ইণ্ডিয়ান সেভিং সেল 5th জুনত
মোৰ ওয়ালেট আচ্ছা এইটো স্যাৰ আপুনি পেমেন্ট অনলাইন কৰিব পাৰিব নেকি বাহ বৰ স্মাৰ্ট দেই ক'ত থাকা আৰু কোন কোন আছে ঘৰত স্যাৰ মই আছো মা আছে সৰু ভাইটিও আছে আৰু মোদিজিও আছে
পিএম মোদি
হয়
মানে
বাইদেউ মই মোৰ গাড়ী লৈছো মুদ্ৰা লোনেৰে এতিয়া মোৰ মায়ে বেলেগৰ ঘৰত কাম কৰিবলৈ যাব নালাগে আৰু মই নিজেও পঢ়ো ভাইটিকো পঢ়াও আৰু মোৰ ব্যৱসায়ও একেবাৰে ষ্টেবল
কিন্তু মোদিজি তোমাৰ পৰিয়ালৰ
বাইদেউ যি নিজৰ হয় নহয় তেওঁ সদায় একেখন চালিৰ তলত নাথাকিব পাৰে কিন্তু তেওঁ সদায় লগতে থাকে সুখতেই হওক বা দুখতেই জগত লাগিলে ইফাল সিফাল হৈ যায় এই মোদি ডাঙৰীয়াই দুখীয়াৰ লগ কেতিয়াও নেৰে
गरीब कल्याण की योजनाओं से कोई भी लाभार्थी छूटना नहीं चाहिए
Keep it. ধন্যবাদ স্যার। ভাৰত চৰকাৰৰ মুদ্ৰা লোনৰ লাভ আপুনিও লওক।
Welcome back. You're watching Northeast Live and moving on now. One migrant laborer, identified as 17-year-old Dilkush Kumar from Bihar, was killed and another injured after terrorists shot at them in Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam on Thursday night. The non-local laborers were employed at a brick kiln in a Chadura village in Budgam district, and they were rushed to SMHS hospital in Srinagar, where Dilkush was declared broad dead. The area has been cordoned off and a search was underway, according to the police. The attack comes only hours after a bank manager from Rajasthan, identified as Vijay Kumar, was shot dead in Kulgam. He was shot right outside his office. And meanwhile, a couple of days ago, Hindu woman teacher Rajni Bala, hailing from Jammu's Samba district, was shot dead by terrorists at a government school in Gopalpura, Kulgam.
अपने कमरे में खाना बन रहा था हमारा। 4 आदमी हम ये जुग्गी में बैठे थे, 3 इधर बैठे थे। तो 2 आदमी आए, इतना देखा भी पैदल चल के आ रहा है हमारे पास कोई। हमने ये नहीं सोचा भी, हमने सोचा भी हमारा आदमी कोई आ रहा होगा काम के लिए, बोलने के लिए। तो हम रमान से बैठे, वो इधर आए पास में, तो इधर से 2 फायर किया। तो लड़का सामने बैठा था, उन पे दोनों पे, एक पे लगा दिल पे गोली, एक पे लगा मारा था जहाँ पे। वो तो बच गया था, दूसरे को तो सदर गाँव में खड़ा था, उसको वहाँ से जवाब दे दिया। फिर श्रीनगर में बोला भेज दिया है, उधर जाते जाते डेड हो गया वो।
जो 2 लोग आए थे उन्होंने लोग आपके साथ बात की कि
डायरेक्ट ही गोली चलाई, चुप कर कर, कोई बात नहीं की, कुछ नहीं किया। इधर को पीछे को भाग गए। बाद में काम करता था वो, जो उधर का था बिहार का, हमारे साथ और भी आदमी काम करते हैं पंजाब में।
कितने आदमी यहाँ पे इस टाइम हो आप?
हम वो लड़का जो डेड हो गया उसको डालकर 7 आदमी थे इधर। तो 6 तो हम पंजाब के थे, गुरदासपुर के ही। तो एक वो था हमारे साथ, वो बोला मैं भी चलूंगा श्रीनगर में तुम्हारे साथ काम करने।
Well, the recent spate of the targeted killings in the valley has invited a chorus of condemnation from political parties across the spectrum, with the Kashmiri Pandits intensifying their demands for relocation from the Kashmir Valley to Jammu. Notably, just yesterday, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, along with RAW Chief Samant Goel, met Union Home Minister Amit Shah to discuss the security situation in the Union Territory. And on to international focus now. Well, US President Joe Biden urged the US Congress to ban assault-style weapons and expand background checks to curb gun violence in the United States. The president also called for red flag laws and a repeal of the immunity that protects gun manufacturers from legal liability if their weapons are used in violence. The remarks come after the US, in just 3 weeks, witnessed 3 deadly shootouts and 35 deaths. The most recent one, that took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, resulted in 5 people dead, including the shooter at St. Francis Hospital. Well, the president cited a recent report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Center, which found that guns were the leading cause of death among children. In addition to gun-related proposals, Biden also called on Congress to address the mental health crisis.
Over the last 2 decades, more school-age children have died from guns than on-duty police officers and active-duty military combined. Think about that. More kids than on-duty cops killed by guns. More kids than soldiers killed by guns. For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough, enough? I know that we can't prevent every tragedy, but here's what I believe we have to do. Here's what the overwhelming majority of American people believe we must do. Here's what the families in Buffalo and Uvalde in Texas told us we must do. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. Strengthen background checks, enact safe storage law and red flag laws. Repeal the immunity that protects gun manufacturers from liability. Address the mental health crisis, deepening the trauma of gun violence and as a consequence of that violence. These are rational, common sense measures. Here's what it all means. It all means this. We should reinstate the assault weapons ban on high-capacity magazines that we passed in 1994 with bipartisan support in Congress and the support of law enforcement. 9 categories of semi-automatic weapons were included in that ban, like AK-47s and AR-15s. And in the 10 years it was law, mass shootings went down. But after Republicans let the law expire in 2004, and those weapons were allowed to be sold again, mass shootings tripled. Those are the facts.
Well, Biden delivered the remarks from the White House's East Room after walking down Cross Hall, which was lined with white candles lit for victims of gun violence. He reflected on his recent trips to Uvalde and Buffalo, during which he met with families of victims killed in both shootings. Moving on now. Well, tens of thousands of royal supporters lined the streets of London on Thursday to celebrate Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee and kicked off 4 days of bomb parties and parades to mark her record-breaking 70 years on the British throne. Thursday evening's beacon lighting event saw the Queen symbolically touch a globe to begin the ceremony at Windsor Castle. Millions of people across Britain and the world are expected to join the festivities in honor of the 96-year-old who has reigned for longer than any of her predecessors. Well, the celebrations begin with the Trooping the Colour military parade in central London, and for the first time, Elizabeth took the salute from the 1,500 soldiers and officers from the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Well, meanwhile, the Queen will not attend Friday's Jubilee service at St. Paul's Cathedral after experiencing discomfort while watching Thursday's parade at Buckingham Palace. The next Jubilee event the Queen is due to attend is the Derby at Epsom Race Course on Saturday, although it is yet to be known whether she will still appear at the horse race. The service at St. Paul's in central London will give thanks for the Queen's 7 decades as monarch. And shifting focus now. Well, today is World Bicycle Day, a day kept aside to encourage and motivate people to take up and adopt cycling in their daily lives for physical fitness. Apart from that, World Bicycle Day also highlights on the need to adopt cycling by common citizens, which will go a long way in ensuring a reduction of carbon footprints. Well, the World Bicycle Day has been celebrated since 2018 after the United Nations adopted a resolution during the 72nd session of the UN General Assembly. The declaration was adopted by more than 193 member states that encouraged them to include bicycles in regional, international, and subnational development program and policies. Well, today, Union Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports Anurag Thakur launched a nationwide program, Fit India Freedom Rider Cycle Rally from Major Dhyan Chand Stadium in Delhi. Well, during the rally, Union Minister Thakur, along with 750 young cyclists, pedaled on a 7.5-kilometer distance in the national capital. Apart from the event in the national capital, rallies are being organized in the capitals of 35 states and union territories and at 75 iconic places across the country today. While talking to the media on the sidelines of the event in the national capital, Union Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports Anurag Thakur said that it is a day to take Prime Minister Modi's message of Fit India to everyone. Thakur further said that Fit India movement, Khelo India movement, Clean India movement, and Healthy India movement can all be accomplished by riding a bicycle. Besides that, the Union Minister said that it will also cut down the pollution level.
वर्ल्ड बाइसाइकिल डे पर हम माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का संदेश देश के कोने कोने तक पहुंचाना चाहते हैं। फिट इंडिया मुहिम को, खेलो इंडिया मुहिम को, क्लीन इंडिया मुहिम को और हेल्थ इंडिया मुहिम को एक ही कारण से किया जा सकता है, जिसकी पूर्ति वो है बाइसाइकिल चलाना। आप फिट भी रहेंगे, प्रदूषण भी नहीं फैलाएंगे, ईंधन की खपत भी नहीं करेंगे और खेलो इंडिया का बढ़ावा भी देंगे तो स्वस्थ भारत, स्वच्छ भारत का निर्माण भी करेंगे। और मुझे पूर्ण विश्वास है देश के करोड़ों लोग जहां एक और इससे जुड़ेंगे, वहीं पर राज्य की सरकारें, केंद्रीय प्रशासित राज्य, उन सब में बाइसाइकिल लेन्स बने, सुविधाओं का जो अभाव है उसमें सुधार हो, ताकि बाइसाइकिल को लोग और जुड़ें। स्वतंत्रता संग्राम से लेकर 21वीं शताब्दी तक की ये यात्रा एक बहुत बड़ा संदेश देती है कि आइए स्वस्थ भारत के निर्माण में, स्वच्छ भारत के निर्माण में साइकिल चलाएं और एक हेल्दी और फिट इंडिया का निर्माण करें।
Well, news and updates continue on Northeast Live, so stay tuned for more news. Thanks for watching.
कांग्रेस सरकार कुछ नहीं कर पाया।
All the best. We, the people of the Northeast, can also contest it.
पूर्वोत्तर में क्या रही आज की सुर्खियां?